Hello, and welcome back to another episode of What Does This Button Do? A series where I play games passionately, but with not a lot of skill.
And I watch.
I'm Rihanna.
And I'm Sigma.
And tonight we are going to hop back into Tyrion Cuthbert, Attorney of the Arcane. Last time, for those who may have missed it...
The shit hit the fan. This time, more shit, more fans.
Yes. This time, we begin the trial of Aria Steelwind.
The prosecutor.
As we attempt to prove that she was not responsible for the murder of 3 people in the Grand Cathedral. So, without any further ado, let's get started. Tyrion, we're definitely lost. You followed Lord Steelwind's directions to the letter. But it appears you found yourself in the ruins of an old city, rather than the estate of the Archduke.
I knew we should have taken out left turn to Albuquerque. I don't understand. This should be the place. The map even has that giant tree north of here.
This can't be the city of Ladon that Virgile mentioned. It doesn't look like anyone's lived here in centuries.
But Lord Steelwind's directions were pretty straightforward. So why are we... Wait a minute.
Did he give us the wrong location on purpose?
Please, what kind of dishonorable cretin do you take me for?
Huh.
Lord Steelwind.
What are you two standing around here for? The trial will be starting shortly.
He's not alone, either. He's flanked by a division of the Kingsguard, and Aria. But it's difficult to tell if they're escorting her or keeping watch over her.
Both? I'm gonna say both.
You can see one of the knights channeling a spell over Aria. It must be an anti-magic field. Even now, she must still be wary about someone taking control of her mind.
Wait. This is where we'll be hosting the trial?
It's gorgeous.
Well, yes, but it's not exactly what I'd call safe.
Yes. The Archduke has always been sentimental about this place. And I doubt a normal courtroom would have enough, space.
What?
Yeah, I'm also confused.
Listen. There's a lot of ego going on the prosecutor's side of the bench. Whole lot of hot air.
I really don't know what possessed him to trust you. It's a miracle he's even taking part in this at all. But nevertheless, let's not keep him waiting.
Before you can ask him to elaborate, he walks past you and heads towards one of the central buildings. It's completely dilapidated. You're a little worried it might collapse on you while you're in it. You look at the prosecutor and raise an eyebrow at her. But she merely shakes her head. It's clear she's just as lost as you are.
Alright, I guess we're doing this.
Oh! The ruins are filled with everyone who was at the Grand Cathedral that day. This looks weird. And they all seem to be just as out of the loop as you are. The only person who seems to be unfazed by this entire situation is Lord Steelwind. He's taken his position at the opposite end of the room. It seems that he truly plans on prosecuting his daughter.
Dick.
With his axe.
Thank you all for coming here today. I appreciate your cooperation with our investigation.
Why have you brought us here?
This place is filthy! It's crawling with insects and vermin! And a defense attorney! Woo. My apologies, but what happens here today must be kept under wraps for now. I had to choose a location that was away from modern civilization.
Ah, an advanced gag order.
Yes. But, nevertheless, welcome you all to my home.
You live here?
I do. Your Grace, I know you wouldn't bring us here unless you were completely certain. But I want to ask you one last time. Is this truly what you wish to do? There will be no going back after this.
What?
I've made many mistakes in my lifetime. I gave Wyverngarde the means to protect themselves, but all it did was warp them into something monstrous. I grew bitter seeing what I'd made, so I isolated myself from my people.
What is going on?
I thought my best course of action would be to stay in seclusion, leave Wyverngarde to fend for themselves. I see now what a fool I was. I abandoned my kin to survive in an unjust world. And now foreign powers have ingrained themselves in my kingdom.
Your kingdom?
All because of my negligence.
Foreign powers? Does he still suspect that you're an agent of the theocracy?
No more. It's time that the people of Wyverngarde and their enemies remember who watches over them.
As he raises his hand, magic begins to swirl around him. Is what I think is about to happen?
Probably. What's going on?
The entire room is violently shaking. Whatever he's casting, it's unlike any magic you've ever seen before. Is this why you wanted a reverb effect?
I mean, it would have been helpful.
A blinding light envelops him, but you can faintly see his form changing. It's expanding. And from it... Wait, is that... a goddamn crunchy dragon?
What's up, bitches?
What?
It's a dragon! As the Archduke assumes his true form, the gallery breaks out into hysteria. Some of them kneel in reverence to the ancient dragon, and some of them cower in absolute terror. You even see some of them attempt to flee before they're stopped by the Knights of the Kingsguard.
Enough. This may not be a court, but I will have order.
You're an ancient dragon. No, you're the last ancient dragon.
That is correct, Heavensborn. I am the Lord of all lords. You all stand before Rathalion, the Scaled Lord.
Oh my god.
Well, yes.
This is not something that I expected. I love his job title of Scaled Lord is covered by his wings.
Primus Virgila is an alias I assumed when I walk amongst your kind. But make no mistake, even in my human form, I have always had the strength of an ancient dragon. Until now, only the lords of House Steelwind and the kings of Wyverngarde have known my true identity. But I will hide no longer. My will alone will determine how this trial ends.
Age!
1,203.
But who's counting?
His mama. I wonder if Rathalion is still alive, like you said.
I wouldn't be surprised. Despite everything, our kingdom's constitution still includes him in our government.
Wait, really?
As the savior of our kingdom, he was given an honorary position on our political hierarchy. His authority technically rivals that of the king.
So that's why you were acting as the arbiter. You're the only person with the authority to convict any and all of the nobles here.
Make no mistake, Mr. Cuthbert. I will remain impartial regardless of what transpires here. I will not interfere in this trial, nor will I try to manipulate its outcome. I will only mediate its proceedings and pass judgment.
Well, that's certainly terrifying.
Now then, with introductions out of the way, shall we proceed? Of course, Your Grace. execution is ready.
The defense is also ready.
I'm sure we're all thoroughly aware of why we're gathered here. But for the sake of doing this properly, could you please list the charges? Of course. The defendant, Aria Steelwind, is charged with several counts of manslaughter.
Oh, not murder.
No, not murder. Her victims include many knights from the Kingsguard who are still unresponsive. And of course, there's Lloyd von Sanctus and Coraline Sybil, the heads of House von Sanctus and House Sybil, respectively.
What is this farce?
This trial has been over before it began.
Lady Steelwind clearly overestimated herself. Even a child must be wary of mate-like.
Didn't realize Mickey Mouse was in the nobility.
Hail to the king, baby!
No, don't you see? This is Bahamut's judgment. The divine powers that be clearly think she is unfit to rule at the king's side.
Might I remind the court of my own testimony? I witnessed Beatrice Frege enter the prayer room before I lost consciousness. Isn't it suspicious that this occurred around 15 minutes before Pierce's death?
We're objecting? We barely started.
If I recall correctly, you only caught a glimpse of her. You don't know if it was someone else disguised in an illusion. You didn't even speak to her.
That's all the more reason to call her to the stand to explain herself.
She has already testified that she has no memories of what transpired during the massacre. There is no need to drag this out any longer than necessary, Cuthbert.
Oh damn, you really do have the man for an objection.
I'll be
Yes.
a turn here, yes.
Hello, C. You might have missed a little bit of shit.
We may, in fact, need to explain why we're currently standing in front of a giant orange dragon. My client has a right to a fair trial. And Beatrice Frege's involvement clearly implies some sort of foul play.
Enough. I find Mr. Cuthbert's request to be reasonable.
Yeah, so this is Rebellion. AKA Remus Virgile.
Oh, just the one. Just the one monkey. The dragon's actually the judge.
And I agree that Lady Frege's actions are quite suspect. Very well. Let the defense have his battle. I only hope for his sake that his blade strikes true.
Don't you point that thing at me.
Fool! Steelwind points as he pleases!
What? Is everything a war metaphor with you?
He's not just secretly a dragon.
Well, the judge isn't. No, the lord that we met last session that I was kind of doing like this Christopher Lee voice for. Yeah,
The Prime Minister.
the Prime Minister, thank you. Yeah. He's a dragon. In fact, he's the dragon.
Yeah, he is the Scaled Lord.
He is Rathalion.
Did you already read this line?
Yes.
Okay. Hey!
Hey, B, how's your face? Beatrice.
I'm glad you're safe, Mr. Cuthbert.
Not lack of trying on your part.
I have no memories of what I did. If I hurt you, I am truly sorry.
She actually looks pretty sincere. But it's not as if this is the first time she's lied to you. Eris!
It continues. To be honest, I'm still a little doubtful about your memory loss.
But I'm not the only one who experienced it. Aria also has no memories of what happened.
But you see, that in and of itself is rather suspicious, I think.
And how would you know that?
Word travels around quickly in dungeons. I saw another Eris. Another Eris blip.
What?
Regardless, if you truly have no memories of what happened, could you testify about what you do remember? Perhaps there's a clue. Perhaps there's a clue there that we haven't discovered yet.
Very well.
Hi, hello, I'm here too.
I'm Arna.
Well,
I was with my sisters and my guide, Eris Ilmater. I was speaking with them in the garden when I suddenly felt ill and lost consciousness. When I woke up, my sisters found me. They said that I had gone missing for over an hour. I was confused, but when I later heard what had happened, I realized that someone must have taken control of my body. I have no memories of what happened, and from what I understand, the same thing happened to Aria. And to make matters worse, there's nothing that indicates who may have controlled our actions. So she's also saying that someone else was controlling her. Well, her testimony does match up with Aria's statement, but there's something off about the way she's testifying. If she were trying to lie to you, she would have been a lot more vague. What is she doing? Telling technical truths? She claims that there's no indication of who controlled them. Oh, that's cool. Apparently right-clicking removes the interface. Oh, wait. Sorry, I didn't mean to click that. She's trying to help.
Yes, she is. I kinda wish we'd actually voiced that. Oh well.
My bad, sorry.
Well, I think we might just have something to prove what she's on about.
Yes, we have this.
And there it is.
There we are. Why would she say something like that?
Why indeed?
You found the contradiction, but it was almost like she gave it to you.
Beatrice, you said there's no indication of who orchestrated this. There is one piece of evidence that does just that, albeit loosely.
And what would that be?
This symbol.
You pull out the parchment with the purple mark on it and show it to her. Maranath reacted.
oh shit!
Maranath, what are you doing?
Well, it's not the Macarena.
What's wrong?
He's using his powers to suppress our connection.
Magic?
I can't actually see what you're trying to show me.
Maranath, can you stop being petty and just let her see it?
I don't take orders from you, Heavensborn.
I issue upon you, and if I need it. I wonder, Mr. Cuthbert, what is on that parchment?
See, Beatrice, Aria has been investigating a string of murders throughout Wyverngarde. These murders appear to be unrelated, despite how gruesome they are. But they all share one thing in common. This symbol was found at each and every crime scene.
Don't tell me my daughter has roped you into her little conspiracy theory.
I need to bring out the voice again, demon.
Your mind control defense would be laughable if it weren't downright insulting.
Ooh, excuse me. Lord Steelwind, during the gap in Aria's memory, someone placed this mark in her pocket. Someone is on the phone!
Okay, hang on.
Sorry, folks. Spam calls are becoming thick and fast. It was clearly some sort of taunt from whoever orchestrated this.
Nonsense! She clearly drew that symbol herself during her psychotic episode. I've had to listen to her go on and on about her insane theory. She was obsessed with it.
Mr. Cuthbert, aren't you curious about what just happened?
What are you talking about?
Think about it. My apologies. I don't know why I said that. Ugh.
Is everything okay, Beatrice?
Yes, I'm perfectly fine. At any rate, it looks like you'll have to figure the rest out on your own.
Figure out the rest on my own. What do you mean by that?
Nothing to figure out. Your Grace, these two are making a mockery of us by spouting these insane theories. The defense clearly has no case. End this at once. Considering what I know, I'd like to indulge this theory. What?
The judge is finally giving you a chance for once. That's a first. It only took an immortal dragon.
Go figure. Only an immortal dragon could possibly be unbiased.
Wait.
Shouldn't waste this opportunity. You've actually been noticing it for quite a while. Beatrice has been acting strangely since the trial began. It's suspicious, but not in the way that seems to implicate her. It's almost like she's intentionally trying to make you realize something. Why don't you pull on this thread a little more? She just asked you if you were curious about what just happened. You're not sure why she stopped herself when you asked for elaboration. What event was Beatrice referring to? Whatever she's trying to draw your attention to must be significant. Maranath hid the purple mark from Beatrice. Maranath? He didn't allow Beatrice to see the purple mark. He'd only do that if Beatrice would recognize it normally. Maranath is her familiar, and he used to follow her orders. But things have clearly changed now that she belongs to the Empress of Discord. So why would a demon like Maranath interfere like this?
Oh, that's some good column juice.
Maranath is hiding... No. A demon?
Well...
The mastermind... The purple mark is related to a demon.
There you go.
There we are. The purple mark must be related to a demon somehow. That's the only explanation as to why he would prevent her from seeing the mark. But Aria has been investigating murders throughout Wyverngarde. Does this mean that her investigation also has something to do with demon? Aria suspected that each of the murderers was acting against their will. And now both Aria and Beatrice are also claiming they were controlled. You can't explain what happened to Aria and these other individuals, but you do know why Beatrice might not have full control of her actions. Beatrice lost control of their actions due to a blood contract. You recall what was written on Beatrice's contract during her trial. It said what would happen if she failed to claim House Frega. Her soul, her mind, and her life would all be claimed by the Empress of Discord. What does this tell us about Aria? If this Empress of Discord owns Beatrice's mind, would that mean they could also control Beatrice against her will? But if that were true... No, that can't be right.
Are you sure?
Why would she make a blood contract?
Why indeed?
No, that can't be right, can it? Did Aria seriously sign a blood contract with a demon? Aria? Check in, please! Why would she ever do that? But it's the conclusion that makes the most sense. You can't think of any other way someone could control her against her will. And there is one way to find out for certain. The Divine Edict. That same ability you used against Beatrice during her trial. It was instinctual at the time, but you have some understanding of how it works. It creates a copy of a blood contract between a contract holder and the demon who created it. But for it to work, you need to know the name of the contract holder. In addition to that, you need the name of the demon who created the contract. Right now, you're only relying on guesswork. But going off of what you know, the demon who made the contract must be...
Eugene Haraldson! I knew it! Horrible little monkey! Back again!
I love that that's even an option. The Empress of Discord, yes?
Yes.
The so-called Empress of Discord. She was mentioned in Beatrice's blood contract. You still have no idea who or what she is. However, she was mentioned in a blood contract created by Maranath. She must be his superior in some way. That might explain why Maranath doesn't want Beatrice to identify the purple mark. You're not sure if a pseudonym is enough, but it's the closest you can get with what you know so far.
You've been awfully quiet for a while, Mr. Cuthbert.
He is a terrible little monkey.
Horrible.
Horrible little monkey.
What are you thinking about? He's probably imagining new ways to futilely stall for time.
We're trying to save your daughter!
I think I finally figured out why the witness and the defendant can't remember anything. It would also explain why they didn't have control over their actions.
Again with this! Well, if you're so convinced of my daughter's conspiracy, why don't you prove it?
I
knew it. Even you don't believe in the nonsense you're spouting.
Lord Steelwind, I want to be wrong about this.
I want you to be wrong about this, Tyrion!
If I'm right, the implications don't bode well for anyone involved. So instead of telling you, I think it would be better to show you. Empress of Discord, wherever you may hide. Damn it!
I knew you could do it.
Oh, she's sweet and cute. By the eye of Horus, I issue a divine... Take two. By the eye of Horus, I issue upon you a divine edict. Release thy guards and manifest your blood contract with Aria Steelwind.
Aria's blood contract. The blood contract seems strange. Unlike Beatrice's contract, it's only one page. Even stranger, there's a large empty space at the top half of the page. There are only a few sentences at the bottom. For the intentions of this contract, the person who hands the contract to Aria Steelwind will be referred to as the patron. By signing this contract, Aria Steelwind surrenders her mind, body, and soul to the patron. This contract will bind Aria Steelwind to the patron so long as they both live. Signed with Aria's signature.
No. This can't be true. This is...
We roar instead
Enough.
of a gavel.
Stop prattling amongst yourselves.
I love that he roars instead of a gavel. Who needs a fucking gavel?
No! This is a sham! This wretch has clearly created a convincing fabrication.
How?
It's genuine, Lucio. It's impossible to falsify.
You can't deny the truth anymore, Lord Steelwind. There is a way to control someone else's actions. Aria Steelwind wasn't affected by mage flight. She was controlled against her will.
With this evidence, there's no doubt that Aria did sign a blood contract. But it still doesn't make sense.
I agree. Even if Aria was the type of person to sign a contract with a demon,
Which she isn't.
there isn't a single part of this contract that benefits her.
Aria signed the contract because it looked like a normal document. The top half is blank, so I'm wondering if something else was placed on top of it. Like, say, a marriage contract?
There's a large empty space above the terms of your daughter's contract. When I issue a divine edict, it creates a copy of the blood contract that I call for. I think when she was given this contract, it probably looked like something entirely different. Something else was written in this empty space to make it look like a normal legal document. Which means that my client was not in control of her actions that day.
Yeah, I don't want myself to be right about it being a fake marriage contract. Like, that would be dumb.
Very.
Enough of this!
Do you see now, Lord Steelwind? Aria was not responsible for what happened.
Like, she's a prosecutor. I'm sure she has to sign a lot of documents.
Yes.
That remains to be proven.
What are you talking about? She has a blood contract that relinquishes control of her free will.
Not having control and not being responsible are two very different things, Cuthbert.
Are they?
Are they?
What?
I'll admit, the defendant may not have had control of her actions when she murdered the victims.
Wow, he's really just calling her the defendant.
Well,
That's fucked.
However, she did have full control of herself when she signed this contract.
But if she was deceived...
are you serious? No one in their right mind would willingly sign a contract like this.
And what of Beatrice Frega? Was she in her right mind when she made a contract with the demon Marinath?
Turns to the Scaled Lord. Hey, is there really a legal difference here?
Well, yes, there is.
I...
If we can't hold the defendant responsible, surely we should also acquit Lady Frega for the murder of her father.
That's hardly the same thing.
It is not the same thing.
I, for one, fail to see the difference.
Well then...
Well, that might have something to do with lack of depth perception.
Good.
All made a deal with the demon, and as a result, several esteemed members of the nobility were killed.
She's your daughter!
Well, you can't fault him for being unprofessional.
Oh.
She's your daughter, Lucio!
Yeah! Tell him, Tyrion!
And how does that change anything?
Damn it! He seriously doesn't care if he convicts Arya.
Well, he convicted his own fucking wife.
True.
Honestly, this only places more responsibility on her for what happened. I could have accepted if she had been reckless and accidentally induced major harm. To sign a contract with a demon? That only further espouses the need to put her down.
My god. Aria, I hope you go no contact.
Mm-hmm. She was clearly tricked, Lucio!
Is that so? As a fellow attorney, would you really sign a contract without carefully inspecting it?
Rawr.
Whether it was through foolishness, negligence, or both, the defendant willingly signed a blood contract. She compromised herself, and as a result, 3 nobles died. The responsibility falls squarely on her.
Wait. Even if she willingly signed that contract, that's not entirely true, is it? Who else was responsible for Aria's actions? The patron.
Lucio, Lucio, there's clearly someone else to blame for Aria's actions that day.
Oh, and who would that be?
I'd like to reread my client's blood contract to the court. By signing this contract, Aria Steelwind surrenders her mind, body, and soul to the patron. That can only mean one thing. Whoever this patron is, they took control of my client and used her to murder the victims. That's right!
They could still be out there!
None of us are safe until this patron is apprehended. I'm a squash.
Sorry. I need to... I made myself laugh with
You got yourself.
Surely we can't end this trial while every member of the Wyverngarde nobility is in danger.
Well played. I'm compelled to agree with Mr. Cuthbert.
Glad to hear there are goblins in the party.
But I'm a squash. Trickery or not, it's clear someone wished ill intent on the nobles.
And until we know who this patron is, you can't pass judgment on my client. Not until we know the circumstances that she signed that blood contract under.
And what you have us do? The contract has no stipulations about proximity or how this mind control works. For all we know, this patron could have murdered the victims all while sitting in their very home.
There was a clear intent behind this attack. Even if the patron didn't directly participate in the murders, they definitely had a motive. If Aria was being controlled, then we can analyze her behavior to determine who was controlling her.
I see. That does sound as good a plan as any. At the very least, we can't allow this patron to escape. Despite the questions raised, we've clearly made some headway. I believe we should take a brief recess to process the remaining.
Thanks, Rathalion.
Very well.
Thanks, Dragon Jesus.
Great, now I'm just imagining Rathalion in the bloody Christ pose.
Yay, more investigating!
Finally, I can give my throat a break.
Sorry. You step outside the Scaled Lord's lair to get some fresh air. These new revelations are a lot to take in. Celeste looks especially down. From what you've observed, she and Aria have been speaking to each other a lot. They must have become friends over the many times they've met. You can't imagine how powerless she feels right now.
Aww.
Oh, Aria, I'm so sorry. Don't be. Her voice begins to break.
Oh, Pee-Pee, no.
She's always been stoic, but it's clear even she has her breaking point.
I can't imagine what you're feeling right now.
Can we give Aria a hug, please?
What do you mean you can't imagine what she's feeling right now? Your whole thing is being an empath! But there's still hope. If we can find out who did this to you, we can still save you. Do you remember if you signed anything recently?
No, I don't.
Damn it. Patron must have wiped your memories to cover their tracks.
But I still don't understand. Even if I don't remember signing that contract, I don't think I would be that careless.
Right. As much as I hate to admit it, Lucio was right. You're an attorney like me, and we always carefully look over contracts before we sign them. Yeah, tell that to a certain ex-president. Which raises the question of how the patron got your signature.
I don't know. I just...
You don't even know what circumstances you were under when you signed that contract. For all we know, the patron could have used any number of tactics to coerce you into doing this.
That's also possible. Aria... As you're deliberating amongst yourselves, Lord Steelwind approaches you. Get the fuck out.
Give my throat a break, you crusty old bastard!
Leave Aria alone.
Leave my throat alone! Leave my larynx alone!
What are you doing here? Father? I can't believe him! How does he have nothing to say? His actions say otherwise, but you could have sworn you saw something through the eye.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost as if he was saddened and worried. Well, no matter how he feels internally, he's made it clear that he's your enemy. Didn't have any anger, that is correct. Doesn't make what he did in the courtroom less shitty, though. Whatever his motivations are, you'll overcome him. Just like everyone else.
We should also head back, Celeste.
Right. No matter what it takes, you're going to see this through. Oh.
Court is now resumed. Shall we pick up where we carried off? How would you like to proceed?
I think we should review what we do know about the murders.
We do have a plethora of witnesses to work with.
That's correct. So let's start from the beginning. It all began at noon yesterday morning. I was at my house in Rathlin with Aria and my bodyguard Celeste. I was speaking with them when a courier suddenly delivered a letter to my home. It was from Garrick Pierce. He wanted to meet with me and Celeste at the Grand Cathedral of the Scaled Lord at 2 p.m. To make sure we were on time, we arrived at the Grand Cathedral at 1 p.m. At the time, we didn't know that the cathedral was closed to the public.
That's a good point, Z. It is good. It is nice to know that Lucio isn't angry at Aria about the contract. But yes, Tyrion is one of those weirdos who considers noon in the morning.
Hey! Oh my goodness, it's PM. The knights guarding the cathedral allowed us through anyway. Apparently they were expecting us.
That should not have been possible. Due to the solemnity of the situation, we were very particular about who was permitted to enter the cathedral.
It's possible someone pulled some strings to let us through. Or you
two entered the cathedral illegally.
Well, I'm sure that knight from the Kingsguard can vouch for us.
Assuming he's conscious.
He's comatose. I know about every order given to the Kingsguard, and none of them were told to let you two through.
It's possible the knight we met felt comatose like the others. And as long as they're unresponsive, we'll never know.
Perhaps we should continue.
We arrived at the church and spent the next hour sightseeing before we went to meet with Pierce. In that time, we met with Remus, Lucio, Aria, Aster, and Alaric.
There's a lot of A names.
Bloody Nora. Around that time, Aria and Aster left together to meet with the High Speaker in his quarters. While exploring the cathedral, we spoke with Von Sanctus and Sybil. Then we spoke with the 3 Frege sisters and Eris Ilmater.
Eris Ilmater?
She's a friend of Beatrice Frege. The Kingsguard wouldn't let her bring her familiar into the cathedral, so she brought Eris to guide her instead. So, we left the garden at around 1:45 p.m. to meet with Pierce in the prayer room. And at around the same time, Aria left her meeting with the High Speaker and felt nauseous. The last thing she remembers is looking at Lake Galacrond.
A likely story.
Regardless, at 2 p.m., Aster went to pay his respects to his father's body. Unbeknownst to him, a mage had placed a glyph of contingency in front of his father's coffin. It was set to trap him within a fort cave.
What a despicable act. Considering what followed, the attack on His Majesty must have been a diversion.
Right. Also at this time that both Beatrice and Eris went missing. Considering the timing of it all, someone must have taken control of Beatrice's body after the trap on Aster was sprung.
I'm surprised with how heavily involved Eris already is in this story. Nobody seems to have even considered calling her up to the stand.
They can't find her.
Well, maybe somebody should be looking.
Maybe somebody is? I don't know.
And are you saying this patron controlled her as well?
No, I don't think so. According to her contract, her mind belongs to the Empress of Discord, not the patron. Therefore,
unless they're the same.
Perhaps. Or perhaps they simply have interest in the line. Furthermore, Aria's blood contract was created by the Empress. It's clear that the patron and the Empress were in league with each other.
Wonderful. Another demon we have to worry about.
At any rate, the patron and the Empress had Patron and the Empress had all of the pieces they needed. There we go. That's when they began the massacre. Patron took control of Aria's body. He used her to murder Von Sanctus at 2:05 p.m. Presumably, Aria started a fire in the common room around this time. And since Von Sanctus's body was found there, this must have been after she murdered him. Shortly after, I don't know what it is about this kid's fucking name. Shortly after, Prince Alaric spotted smoke from the fire and asked Aria what was going on. So she turned him into a nuke. He got better. Aria responded by using an unknown transmutation spell to incapacitate him.
She glitches the world so they've never asked her. Why would she go up if she's never been called up? That's fair.
To think they would use her to attack the prince as well.
Luckily, the effects of that spell were only temporary, and Alaric came out unharmed. He got better. After this, the patron used Aria to murder Sybil at 2:15 p.m. She brought Sybil's body over to the westward balcony, where she dumped it into Lake Galacrond. High Speaker Arceus witnessed this, but he wasn't aware of what she'd thrown off the balcony until much later. Otherwise, he probably would have used judgment. The High Speaker thought this encounter was strange, but he continued with his business. He headed to the prayer room, but was turned away by the knight standing guard there. Meanwhile, Celeste and I were talking to Lord Pierce. When we showed up for the meeting earlier, he was clearly expecting someone else to show up. We tried to get to the bottom of what was happening, but he refused to answer our questions. And at about 2:20 p.m., we heard a commotion outside. Celeste went to investigate. And that's when Celeste fought Aria. The patron's target was Garrick Pierce, but Celeste was too powerful to neutralize.
Because she's best girl.
Yeah! They fought each other for about 15 minutes before Aria was finally able to push past her. During their fight, the During their fight, the Empress sent Beatrice into the prayer room. She probably made Beatrice invisible and move undetected. She then used her to cast a sleep spell on Pierce and me to knock us out. I remember checking the time close to when this happened. This must have happened at 2:30 p.m.
If your testimony is correct, Beatrice Frege was actively used in this plan.
Yes. And considering how quickly the massacre unfolded, the Empress must have coordinated with the patron. They probably planned how they would use Beatrice and Aria to carry out the murders. Anyway, after Beatrice knocked us out, Aria finally pushed past Celeste and entered the prayer room. Before Celeste could chase after her, she'd already murdered Pierce. Aria and I were already unconscious by the time Celeste entered the room. Patron had already achieved their goal of murdering the three nobles, so she probably fell unconscious after they released their control over her. Aria and I regained consciousness shortly after. That's when the Inquisition arrested her for the murders.
Lord Pierce was one of the victims. Your meeting clearly had more significance than I'd realized. So tell us, Cuthbert, what was your discussion about?
It's fine. You can tell them.
Alright, as long as it's okay with you. For the past few months, Celeste and I have been investigating who her birth parents are.
I recall receiving many complaints about her during the Lord's Ball.
Whoops!
Supposedly, Garrick Pierce had the information we were seeking. That letter he sent us said that he wanted to trade this information for his freedom. I assumed this meant that he wanted me to be his attorney.
Do you honestly expect us to believe that? Why would he ask for help from the attorney who indicted him in the first place?
I can give you the letter, bruh. I can give you the letter, bruh.
What can I say? I'm good. We thought the same thing. And when we arrived for the meeting, it was clear that I wasn't the intended recipient. This means that Pierce sent that letter to someone else.
Sorry, I keep interrupting you as you're about to take a sip of your column juice.
And oh boy!
Oh boy, is Lucio making me need it.
You'd better not be lying to us, Cuthbert.
Frankly, I don't much care if you believe me. Regardless, if we examine every action Aria took, we can build a psychological profile of the patron.
I will give you that.
To begin, the defense would like to call the Inquisition Commander to the stand.
Hi, Orem. Been a minute.
His testimony might shed some light on how Von Sanctus and Sybil died. Despite all these witness accounts, we still only know how Pierce was murdered.
Yes. He was impaled using a blade magically frozen from his own blood.
Which is
fucking metal.
In a grim sort of way. It's almost poetic that he died the same way Flintheart did. But you doubt that will give Celeste any kind of closure.
At any rate, we need to find out exactly how...
Sorry.
Do you mind? We need to find out exactly how Aria murdered Von Sanctus and Sybil. Massacre was swift and efficient. Must have required a lot of forethought and coordination. If we figured out who might have had this knowledge, we might be able to find out who did this.
I see. Well, that sounds as good a plan as any. Kingsguard, escort Commander Orem White to the witness stand. And get me some tea. Witness, please state your name and occupation. Right,
Orem, come on! This ain't your first rodeo!
It's a bit weird with her dad, is all I'm saying.
Commander?
I'm sorry, I just can't do this. How am I supposed to act like this is normal?
Orem! Sweetie! Honey!
I'm literally standing at the feet of a dragon. This is kind of weird. A giant lizard is standing right behind me.
Dragon!
Same thing.
Or was that a bit of a crush on Lucio for a while?
Hey, who told you? I mean, calling me a lizard is highly offensive, Commander. Sorry, your Scout Lordship.
I'm kind of loving this.
Commander, just try your best to testify about what happened.
Yeah.
And here we go.
It all started when we received a report from the King's Guard. The prosecutor attacked Prince Alaric and a fire had broken out in the common room. We weren't sure what the deal with Steelwind was, so we went to the common room to put out the fire.
Or I'm doing his best despite being way out of his depth.
So far out of his depth.
He is definitely the gumshoes here.
Sorry, the gumshoes?
The gumshoe.
Yeah, that's
The
what I thought.
detective gumshoe.
Yes.
He's not a Pokemon. When we got there, we noticed a bunch of unconscious knights in front of the prayer room. We went to the prayer room. That's when we found Steelwind and Cuthbert unconscious near Pierce's dead body. We later found the bodies of Von Sanctus and Sybil, too. That's when we realized that she offed all three of them.
So you still have no idea how Steelwind was used to murder Von Sanctus or Sybil?
Not a clue. It's especially worse for Von Sanctus. The fire burned a lot of the physical evidence off of his body.
What about Sybil? Was there any physical evidence on her body?
No idea about that either. She didn't have any wounds. All we know is that she died of suffocation.
There's definitely more information you can glean from their investigation.
There most certainly is.
With a crunchy cross-examination.
So crunchy.
I'm not quite sure where to start here, so I'm just gonna press statements.
Alright. And this is mainly based on Prince Alaric's testimony, am I correct?
Yeah. We still have no idea which transmutation spell she hit him with.
Judging from the time of the report, this must have been well after all three of the murders occurred.
Yeah. It was unfortunate how that played out. Steelwind really was controlled. Whoever controlled her knew how to get the job done quickly.
That leaves the question of how they did this so efficiently.
Was that wise? Regardless of who it was, someone assaulted a Prince of Wyverngarde.
We were already dealing with the king who was trapped in that force cage. Honestly, a lot happened at that hour. And most of our attention was focused on keeping the royal family safe. We can already conclude that the attack on the king was a distraction. Whoever orchestrated this must have known we'd focus our attention on keeping the royal family safe.
You suppose that makes sense. And the casualties still included many knights from the King's Guard. They probably had to spread their forces thin to protect everyone else and handle the fire in the common room.
What did you do when you arrived at the common room, Commander?
Noticed a bunch of unconscious knights in front of the prayer room.
Did you see Aria or Celeste?
No, we only saw the aftermath of their fight. There were marks and craters everywhere in that hallway. Pierce's time of death was 2:45 p.m., and the knights didn't arrive at the common room until 3:10 p.m. They didn't arrive at the prayer room until well after the battle had taken place.
Wait, wouldn't that mean you were in that room with Pierce's body for 25 minutes? Why didn't you look for help?
You weren't waking up for some reason, so I kept channeling my healing magic into you. Looking back, I probably should have just looked for help. But even if Aria was unconscious, I didn't want to leave you alone in that room with her.
Right. Sorry.
Recalling that moment is clearly taking a toll on her mind. You should be more careful.
Mm-hmm. Judging from the timing, this would have been several minutes after he'd already died.
Yeah, we had no idea what was going on. Pierce was already dead, and you and Steelwind were unresponsive.
I can see why I'd be unresponsive. I was hit with a spell specifically designed to make people sleep. Why would Aria be unresponsive too?
We have no idea. We've never even heard of demonic possession until today. For all we know, it could have all been a side effect of being controlled for over an hour.
You suppose that makes sense. But could that common thread truly be a mere coincidence? That last statement was a little vague. Perhaps you should ask him to elaborate more on one of the murders. But whose murder should he elaborate on?
Well, I feel like we more or less know the circumstances of Garrett Pierce's death well enough. Sybil and Von Sanctus. There's not a whole lot that have been officially noted for the record.
Mm-hmm.
Could you elaborate more on Sybil's murder? Was there any evidence that implied how she died?
Using our divination magic, we know she died of suffocation. But we're not exactly sure how.
But unlike Von Sanctus, Sybil's body wasn't burned. Shouldn't there have been wounds all over her neck if she was suffocated?
Well, we... Excuse me. Well, we found traces of necromancy on Sybil. We think Steelwind cast mend wounds on her body after she offed her. This would have removed any wounds on the body.
But why? That seems so weird.
Mm-hmm. It's exactly like what happened with Catherine Bellwether.
Yeah. The only wounds she has are from the impact of falling into Lake Galakrond.
Please add this to your testimony, Commander White.
Sure. Whatever you say, kid.
Oops, that's the text log, not the inventory.
Yeah. So many gravelly voices today.
And, you know, literal gravel.
Just like Bellwether, that's a concerning detail, yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
What we kind of already figured, but I can't figure out how to present usefully, is that...
If you can't figure out where to present it, maybe you just need to press further.
Yeah, is that Sybil used her stone skin spell on herself because we found the broken stone pieces on the balcony.
And since someone cast mend wounds on the body, we still don't know how.
Yeah. It's gonna be a real headache figuring that out.
You're compelled to agree with him. No one saw the murder. The High Speaker only witnessed the moment Aria dumped the body. And even he didn't see that much. Is Sybil the victim you want to focus on? Perhaps you should ask him to elaborate on one of the other murders.
True, we might not yet have the information we need from...
Yeah, we might not...
the other victims. Could you elaborate more on Von Sanctus's murder? Was there any evidence that implied how he died?
I don't know, but his last words were probably meh. Like I said, it's trickier with Von Sanctus because the fire partially burned his body. And our divination magic can only tell that he died of suffocation.
I see. So there's no other physical evidence.
Well, there is one thing. From his burn marks, we do know that he was hit with a firebolt before he died. We're guessing she wanted to weaken him before she dealt the final blow.
So he took a direct attack from her before he died. Please add this to your testimony, Commander White.
Sure, whatever you say, kid.
He didn't have anything to defend himself with, you say?
Do I present his compendium?
I think that will be wise.
Yeah, his compendium, because he has Force Cage.
That's strange.
What is it now?
Commander White, you said that Steelwind attacked Von Sanctus with a firebolt before she suffocated him.
Yeah, she probably wanted to injure him so it'd be easier to subdue.
But that's what I find strange. Von Sanctus knew he was under attack. So wouldn't he cast Force Cage to repel her?
I guess that's true. Was hardly a warrior, Cuthbert. Force Cage is an extremely useful spell, but it has to be aimed. He was hit with a firebolt, and he must have been in immense pain. I doubt he'd be able to think clearly under those circumstances.
I normally agree with you, but the crime scene tells another story.
He was not a warrior, but he was a coward.
Mm-hmm.
Meh.
What do you mean, Mr. Cuthbert? What implies that Von Sanctus cast a Force Cage?
The image of the room.
I think his autopsy might be...
Yeah, it might be where that intel is. Here we are.
Traces of abjuration magic were found on and around the body. Force Cage is abjuration.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
No, Steelwind's is somewhat believable. Remember something you found at the crime scene?
Or maybe... where's the fucking... Boy!
Square. There it is.
Ha.
There it is.
Right idea, wrong place.
Yeah.
Honestly, they probably should have coded it so that both would work, but I understand why they didn't. When we investigated the crime scene, we found traces of abjuration magic that formed a perfect square around the body.
It's the shape that's important.
Yes. I'm sure if we measured the dimensions of that square, it would be 10 feet by 10 feet.
Which is the same length and width as created by Force Cage.
Like you said, he was in no shape to aim it. So he cast Force Cage on himself to create a makeshift barrier.
Nonsense! If Von Sanctus had cast Force Cage on himself, he should have been protected from further harm.
Without a loser bar, I'm had to have overlooked that overlap.
Very true.
Which is why she would have set the fire.
The defendant wouldn't have been able to suffocate him after that.
Perhaps there's some way to bypass Force Cage.
And once again, your ignorance of the arcane arts is made apparent.
Bitch.
Force Cage is one of the most powerful abjuration spells in existence. It can't be dispelled, and no one could teleport into or out of it.
Right. Aster was also trapped in a Force Cage. He had to wait for the hour duration to elapse. So how did Steelwind suffocate him? Hey. Force Cage is a perfectly closed space. Is it possible that he ran out of air?
That would be a glaring weakness. House Von Sanctus obviously designed that spell to allow oxygen through the barrier.
Unless all said oxygen had been consumed by flame.
A combination of flame and Von Sanctus' own hot air, yes.
Hyperventilation.
And before you ask, poisonous gases can't be pushed through the barrier either.
You made it to the finals!
Yo! So for those who weren't aware, Ifrit Had a Magic the Gathering tournament today. And our boy only made the finals. Woo, that is impressive, my dude.
Our judge is a dragon.
Yes. Yes, he is. Our judge is a dragon. Our defendant accidentally made a pact with the devil. Oh, he's still at it!
Back at it again at Krispy Kreme.
My friends, Ifrit is going into the final bout. Oh, everything to play for. Oh, holy shit, this is great news. 49 damage!
I don't understand Magic the Gathering, but that's a big number.
Oh, I gotta see your build at some point, my dude. I probably won't know what I'm looking at because I've been out of the game for a while and it was only ever casual, but man, I can respect that.
Did you read the line or not?
Only oxygen can go through it. Right. And even if they had used poisonous gas, the autopsy report wouldn't have said he was suffocated. No, sorry.
Only oxygen can travel through the bounds of the force cage. So how did Aria suffocate Von Sanctus despite that? The fire consumed all of the oxygen in the common room.
Bada bingus. Force cage is specifically designed to allow oxygen through its barrier. But what if there was no oxygen left in the room?
No oxygen. Ah, I see. It was the fire in the common room. Patron knew Aria couldn't harm Von Sanctus once he was in that force cage. So she started a fire to eat all the oxygen within the room.
And incapacitated Alaric to make sure that he couldn't go get help fast enough to put the fire out in time.
There you go. Obviously, Aria consumed all the oxygen in the room, and I have the silly straw to prove it.
The murder of Von Sanctus has been updated. Aria Steelwind attacked Von Sanctus with a firebolt in the common room. He reacted by casting Force Cage to protect himself. Seeing that she couldn't break through it, she started a fire to eat all of the oxygen in the room. Von Sanctus was probably helpless as he suffocated from a lack of oxygen, which... Von Sanctus is an asshole, but that's a terrible way to die.
Yeah, but kind of appropriate considering his tendency to suck all the air out of a room. Ow! What should have protected him ended up trapping him. And the inability to dispel it ended up sealing his fate. How like the innovations of Von Sanctus to have a horrific, fatal flaw.
Well, I suppose that explains how the defendant murdered Von Sanctus. With that in mind, a lot of this plan sounds like it was improvised at the moment.
Just like the murder of Pierce. And not only that, we assume that the patron used the same method to kill both Lord Von Sanctus and Lady Sybil. Well, like I said, our judge is a dragon, our defendant made an accidental deal with the devil, and one of our victims apparently just stupided himself to death. In a box. But I doubt Lady Sybil died under the same circumstances.
Correct. There was only one fire. And if Sybil was in that force cage...
You fool!
The defendant wouldn't have been able to throw her body into Lake Galakrond. Which means Sybil must have died by asphyxiation elsewhere.
Might I suggest the bottom of the lake, sir?
And it's clear our next course of action is to determine how Lady Sybil was murdered.
But we still don't know where she was murdered.
And the only witness who saw her around this time was the High Speaker.
Can we call him?
Which was after the defendant disposed of Sybil's body.
Well, the High Speaker's testimony is as good a start as any. For our next witness, the defense would like to call High Speaker Theon Arceus to the stand.
Can we do that?
What's wrong?
We allowed?
I don't appreciate I was rather enjoying being the only legendary in the room, to be honest. It's nothing.
Is Theon Arceus gonna lose it?
Well, how would you feel if you met God?
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna take this well. Hope the
Kingsguard, escort High Speaker Arceus to the witness stand.
I hope the 4-year-old man doesn't have a heart attack.
Well, I have good news about that.
Oh, good. Hi.
Witness, you will testify about...
Oh, great and blessed Scout Lord.
Oh boy.
Oh, here we go.
Ah, he was concerned about the groveling.
Yes. Oh God, yes.
Rathalion internally laughing and sighing at the same time.
Oh, well, externally sighing. To think you would grace us with your presence.
Oh, my me.
Oh my god.
Hold on. On that note.
Oh, my God.
She was not ready. You know?
Oh, this is too much.
Oh, it just gets funnier from here.
Forgive me, Lord Rathalion. I spoke out of turn. You must think I'm an arrogant fool.
Oh my god, please calm down. Wow, it looks like the witness is schmoozing the judge for once. I'm breathing. Imagine hearing your god say, oh my god.
I mean, it would certainly...
Who is the god's god? What god is Rathalion invoking?
Who gods the gods? Yes. Classic question. Jesus Christ. No, not him.
Oh.
How many times do I have to tell you people that I'm not a god?
Oh, with the please don't worship me situation.
Exactly. Yes, I revere and serve the god of dragons, but I am not Bahamut's avatar. But you're the Scaled Lord. I'm just a dragon, not even a powerful. I'm not a deity.
I like Rathalion.
This humility. That's exactly what Bahamut's avatar is.
Oh my god.
Oh God, the apologetics.
I swear to God.
This is the best dialogue that any dragon could ever have.
Even swears by the god's name. Lucio, please hand.
Yes, Your Grace.
This witness is a menace. Perhaps another approach is warranted. High Speaker Arceus, the great and powerful Rathalion calls upon you today.
Oh, great, thanks. You're making it worse.
Lucio knows how to work them.
We require your... you require my blood?
No, calm down.
Of course, I will gladly give my life for the Scaled Lord.
Not your blood, just your testimony.
Hang on, I think I have a knife hidden somewhere in my anal staff.
What? No!
This is a good sprite. This is a good portrait. I like it. I'm here.
Of course, my blood could never be enough.
Would you just let me...
I will do as you wish, my lord. It might take some time, though. I'll need some time to gather some followers and...
No. Roar.
Oh my god, we just want your testimony.
Bruh.
Just... Tell us what you saw when your wind was at the westward balcony yesterday.
Thank you.
Oh, I see. If that's what you truly wish, my lord. Are we just going to ignore how ready he was to commit mass murder?
We're just gonna sweep that under the rug for right now.
It's the Catholic way.
It is the Catholic way.
That's why I said it.
He was gonna go on a crusade.
Be quiet! We just got him calmed down!
I'm with Lucio.
For once. I was doing some paperwork at my quarters, and I suppose I lost track of the time. My alarm went off, and I realized it was time for my afternoon prayers.
Your alarm?
Yes, my alarm. I began heading to the prayer room when I spotted Lady Steelwind looking over the westward balcony. I tried to greet her, but she didn't respond to me. That's when I noticed she was pushing something large over the balcony and into Lake Narracroft. I asked her what she was doing, but again she ignored me and went towards the prayer room. I thought nothing of it and made my way there as well. That's when the guards there turned me away. I went back to my quarters to do my prayers there.
But he didn't see Aria and Celeste fighting? At all?
Ain't that odd?
Yeah.
Great. Someone made a blood pact with the fucking Pope. Considering the timing of it all, this must have all happened minutes before she began attacking the prayer room.
Yes, I consider myself lucky. The Scaled Lord must have graced me with divine luck. No, the hell I didn't. Please, just stop.
Considering how quickly she was moving, there has to be a reason why she waited there. Was she waiting for the High Speaker to leave? Perhaps you should closely examine the timing of these events. I'm going to start by pressing him not seeing Celeste and Aria fighting. Because that's just too weird to me.
Right. And these guards are still comatose.
It makes you uneasy that you still don't have an explanation for that. Did the Empress of Discord use some kind of demonic magic to do that? The Eye of Horus doesn't leave magical traces, so it's possible that demonic magic is the same. Either way, it's awfully convenient he left right before the attack on the prayer room happened.
Yes, well.
But you suppose you'll have to put a pin in that for now.
What time did this happen?
I believe it was 2:15 p.m. That's when I usually arrive at the prayer room. I'm the Pope, you see.
But they didn't hear anything until 2:30. Can I press this again?
No? You might have something in the evidence that might contradict the timing.
That would make sense. Where's the timeline? That's the letter from Garrett Pierce.
Hang on, what time did Sybil die? 2:18.
Why didn't the music stop?
Okay, but you know what this means, right? Assuming his timing is correct.
Then what was being thrown was not Sybil's body.
Can we rule that out?
Sybil wasn't dead at the time she was thrown over. It's obvious Arya is working for the Dragon Pope. No!
Not
Quite.
really. So, she ignored you? What was her expression like?
The other table's been at it for 2 hours?
Jesus.
It's very cold and emotionless.
Sorry, I think I've kind of mixed... I'm mixing my old men up. That's terrible.
The patron must have had control of her when this happened.
In your defense, you have had to voice 4 of them in this stream.
What? Please stop throwing old men at me!
Yes, I was also the Empress of Discord this whole time!
Just strips down and he's wearing a little black dress.
No!
Yep. Nope. I hate that too.
Yes, that certainly makes the most sense.
What time did this encounter happen?
It was shortly after my alarm went off. It was definitely before 2:15 p.m.
I'm gonna ask about the alarm. You have an alarm?
An alarm?
It's a rudimentary artificery device. I use it to remind me to conduct daily prayers.
Thank you, Mordrine. I see. And do you have it set to go off at a specific time?
Yes. It's set to go off at 2:10 p.m., 5 minutes before my afternoon prayers.
Okay.
This happened before 2:15 p.m. Shall we try this again? Something. Maybe. No.
Music still didn't stop.
But this still feels pertinent. So maybe we just got the wrong piece of evidence. Come to think of it, didn't she lose consciousness while she was staring out at Lake Galakrond around 2:15?
Did she? No, at 1:40 she abruptly left the meeting.
Check some of the other stuff from her.
I'm not reading that.
That's a lie.
I am the Empress of Discord. Pull the lever, drunk.
I think this might actually be one of those situations where it's like really obscure and weird what they actually want you to present.
Yeah.
Ay. It's not really relevant to what's going on here. This might be... Maybe? Possibly? Maybe that, then.
Yeah, maybe here?
Maybe.
There we go! Right evidence, wrong
Wait.
statement.
What?
Right evidence, wrong statement.
Is something wrong?
There is, but I'm not really sure what it means.
Stop stammering and say what you want to say.
Hi, Speaker. You said that you saw Aria dumping something over the ledge of a balcony.
There's no need to be vague, Cuthbert. It's clear from the evidence that he saw my daughter dumping Lady Sybil's body.
You need a sec.
Oh, Steelwind fighting back.
That's the thing, Lord Steelwind. It couldn't have been Sybil's body.
What are you talking about? The location from that balcony to where we found Lady Sybil's body lines up perfectly.
That may be. But the witness just said he saw Aria dumping the body before 2:15 p.m.
Wait.
You see it too, don't you, Lucio? How did Aria dump Coraline Sybil's body into Lake Galakrond before 2:15 p.m. if her time of death was 2:18 p.m.?
I see. That does seem peculiar. But we know the defendant threw Sybil's body from that balcony. There would be no other explanation for how it ended up there.
Yes, that's also true.
I can think of one.
Perhaps she was still alive when Aria threw her off that balcony. She could have been knocked unconscious with a sleep spell. Your Grace, there were no traces of conjuration magic on her body. And even if she was asleep, she wouldn't have survived a fall from that height. The distance from that balcony to the lake is more than 30 stories.
But Coraline Sybil has the spells Stone Skin and Slow Fall in her spell compendium.
Indeed.
Those are special tools that'll help us later.
And the autopsy report says that the cause of was suffocation, not blood clots.
Right.
So when did she die? After she hit the water.
She must have died after she hit the water.
But Mr. Cuthbert, Lucio just said that she would have died upon impact.
But that's assuming she didn't do anything to lessen the blow. She might have had the opportunity to cast a spell to protect herself. That might explain why her body isn't as damaged despite falling from such a great height.
Again, that doesn't match with the evidence. Lady Sybil's spell compendium contains the spell Slow Fall. If she had the opportunity to cast a spell, she used that spell to slow her descent. And she wouldn't have taken any damage from hitting the lake if she'd done that.
That's a really good point. But just indulge me for a second. Which spell did she cast? She must have cast Stone Skin on herself.
Stone Skin?
Thank you, Murray. If you recall, the High Speaker mentioned that something was strange about the object Aria threw over the balcony. It was much darker, and didn't match with Sybil's usual garb. Almost as if there was something else Sybil was wearing.
That object was actually Lady Sybil, protected by a layer of stone. But that still doesn't explain why she cast that instead of Slow Fall.
He's right.
He is. So, why?
Why did Sybil cast Stone Skin on herself? Sybil cast Stone Skin before being thrown into the lake.
She cast Stone Skin on herself before she was thrown into the lake. Aria must have attacked her, and she cast that spell in response.
That would protect her from Steelwind's strike.
That doesn't seem quite right. What do you mean? I may not have seen much, but I saw that the object Aria dumped was stiff and motionless. If it had been Lady Steel, she would have been struggling against her, wouldn't she? That's a good point, too.
Good luck, Ivrat. Hope you win.
Kick some ass!
The High Speaker saw Aria dumping a motionless Sybil. But if we assume my logic is correct, she would have also still been alive.
Why was Sybil motionless despite being conscious?
So why wasn't she struggling against Aria?
Rudolph?
Really, we're just running out of red herrings for this one.
Well, if she'd been knocked out, she wouldn't have been able to maintain Stone Skin. It's a concentration spell. That, on the other hand...
She must have been affected by a spell. And considering it kept her from resisting Aria, the patron must have made Aria cast the spell on her. Which spell did Aria cast on Sybil?
Well, first things first.
Double check her compendium. Mend wounds, firebolt, shape liquid, dispel magic, steelwind strike, detect magic, flame of cold creature. There we are. That's polymorph. Where's hold? There we are.
Total. It was hold creature. Sybil must have cast Stone Skin on herself when Aria attacked her. The patron must have known that Aria couldn't physically damage her like that. So they ordered her to restrain Sybil with that spell.
And Sybil died by suffocation.
Because she couldn't move, she had stone skin, so she hit the water,
And kept going.
sank, and couldn't swim back up.
That's right, Lucio.
How did Sybil suffocate?
Even if she was restrained, Sybil was still protected by stone skin. That would have left only one option for the patron.
Oh, we need, Sybil drowned in Lake Galacrond.
Bada bing, baby.
Literally sank like a stone, yeah.
Sybil suffocated when Aria threw her into Lake Galacrond. Her stone skin lessened the impact of the fall, but it also made her drop like a literal rock. Aria's Hold Creature spell prevented her from moving or releasing her spell. She was helpless as she sank to the bottom of the lake. Grizzly.
I believe that covers all three of the murders, then. Yes. Sanctus suffocated to death in his own force cage. Lady Sybil drowned after Aria cast a Hold Creature spell on her. And Lord Pierce died after being wounded by a blade created with shaped liquid. The only common thread I see is that the patron used some of the victim's magics against them.
Yeah, there's some pretty scary deaths in this one.
Gee, it's almost like we're dealing with demons.
But how does that connect to Pierce? Did he cast shaped liquid to make a blade to defend himself? Maybe the murderer took it from him and used it against him. No, but he was knocked unconscious alongside you. He couldn't have been the one to create that blade.
Well, whoever did this had an in-depth knowledge of each of the spells they used to defend themselves. They knew that Von Sanctus couldn't dispel his own force cage. And they also knew that he still needed oxygen from within it. In Sybil's case, they knew Aria couldn't physically harm her once she had stone skin active.
They also knew that Hold Creature would prevent Sybil from dispelling her own stone skin.
Not only that, they did all of this in a quick time frame. Von Sanctus and Sybil died within 13 minutes of each other. And if Aria hadn't encountered Celeste, Pierce might have died just as quickly.
So whoever did this had an in-depth knowledge of high-level magic. Not only that, they came up with creative ways to bypass the defenses put up by Von Sanctus and Sybil. Yes, they had the ability to react quickly and decisively. Considering the circumstances, that hardly narrows it down. Several members of the Four Pillar families were present that day. Each and every one of them studied at the Imperial Academy. They would all be knowledgeable in magic and its applications.
Something they're saying isn't sitting right by you for some reason. There's something there, so why can't you see it? Ugh, it's no use. You just can't piece it together yet. Someone who studied at the academy? But you're not finished yet.
There's another angle to this. Consider who the patron did and didn't target. The victims were Lloyd Von Sanctus, Coraline Sybil, and Garrick Pierce. It's a similarity that we can draw between at least two of them.
Von Sanctus and Pierce are convicted murderers of the Commonwealth.
They are indeed.
No, the
Well,
victims-
no. Von Sanctus was never convicted as such. I mean, Pierce and Sybil are members of Pillar Fam. Or leaders of Pillar families. That's what we forget. That's the most obvious connection. Von Sanctus and Sybil were the heads of their respective noble houses.
Are you saying the patron's goal was to assassinate leaders of the Four Pillars?
That's the motive that makes the most sense. That does leave one question.
Why Garrick Pierce?
Don't be coy, I'm not daft, Cuthbert.
Actually, I highly doubt it was you.
Really now?
Out of most of the people there, you could have easily tricked your daughter into signing a blood contract. But why would you need to do that? You're the Grand General of Wyverngarde's military, and the cathedral was filled with your men. You could have easily equipped one of your best mages to carry out this massacre. And you wouldn't even need to make a deal with the demon to do so.
So why wasn't Lucio?
From her encounter with Celeste, it's clear there's a limit to Aria's combat capabilities. Patron might have simply doubted Aria's ability to defeat the Grand General. But there's also another explanation.
Why didn't the patron target Lucio Steelwind? Yeah.
The patron wanted people to suspect House Steelwind for the murders. They used Lucio Steelwind's daughter to commit the crime. Then they intentionally left him alive to cast suspicion on him.
That's why they used my daughter?
Whoa, he pissed now. Is that a tinge of anger you feel from him?
More than a tinge, I reckon.
That leads me to my next point. Imagine if we never discovered Aria's blood contract with the Empress of Discord. What would have happened?
We'd still think Ms. Steelwind succumbed to mage blight. She would have been convicted for the murders, and trust in House Steelwind would be forever diminished.
A tinge with a face like that? Yeah, see?
Mm-hmm. Rather healthy dollop, I would say.
We're on the same page here.
Perhaps even a gob.
About a month ago, House Frege lost its head. And his successor, Life of Frege, was woefully unprepared to take his place. Now, the heads of House Von Sanctus and House Sybil are dead. With House Steelwind being held responsible for it all.
All four of the Philip families, of course. All four of the Philip have been weakened as a result of the massacre.
But I think there's another layer to this. Everything fits together if we assume that the patron's goal was to weaken the Pillar families. Except the murder of Garrick Pierce.
Yes. In contrast to Sybil and Von Sanctus, Pierce's political power pales in comparison. I love alliteration.
Furthermore, Pierce was already scheduled to be executed next month for the murder of Flintheart McCoy. So why did the patron target Garrick Pierce? Why would the patron go to the trouble of murdering a condemned man?
I don't know who Rudolph is.
The valet?
Oh.
Why do I look like Reese Rudolph?
That was the first case. Pierce
And the third.
knew the identity of Celeste's parents.
It's true. Patron murdered Pierce because they needed him to die as quickly as possible. Pierce knew the identity of Celeste's biological parents.
My parents?
You remember what Pierce said when we showed up to the meeting?
Ah, you finally arrived. I suppose this means you finally decided... Wait, you two?
We got your letter.
Letter? What letter?
You sent us a letter, Pierce. It said that you knew who Celeste's parents were.
I did send that letter, but not to you two.
We weren't the intended recipients of that letter.
That's right!
So that leaves one last question.
Who did Pierce originally send that letter to? The patron?
Don't know if anybody else on this list makes sense. There's only one person Pierce could have sent that letter to. The person who orchestrated the massacre in the first place. The patron!
But that means...
Patron is someone who would be threatened by Celeste's parentage.
Ooh. Roar.
Order! Order in the court!
But I don't understand.
I'm sorry. I know this is a lot to take in. But I think they were targeting you for some reason. Pierce knew the identity of Celeste's parents and attempted to blackmail the patron with this. Instead of complying with Pierce's demands, the patron instead sent the letter to me.
But why go to the trouble of luring you there? They could have just allowed Pierce to wait in the prayer room while the defendant made her way to murder.
Looking back on it, it's possible they wanted to kill Celeste too.
What?
They knew I wouldn't meet with Pierce alone, and the information he had was about her. The patron correctly guessed that I'd bring her with me. By killing both Pierce and Celeste, they'd eliminate any threat Celeste would pose to them.
Who would be threatened by such information? The mere existence of McCoy posed a threat to them. It must have something to do with her birthright.
Oh.
Right. So who would that leave? Who indeed?
My hunch has always been on the royal family, but you have insisted that's wrong.
Have I? King de Wyverngarde just recently died. What if Celeste was a member of the royal family?
You think I'm a princess? Oh.
Well, I don't want to suspect Aster, but we need to consider every possibility. When it comes to conflicts of inheritance, a royal line of succession is the first thing that comes to mind.
See, if you were right this whole time, then so was I. Please.
Not only that, the king would have the authority to pardon Pierce for his crimes.
That wouldn't entirely make sense.
What do you mean?
If McCoy was abandoned at a tavern in Cornhaven, Ohio, we must assume she's a bastard child.
Stop calling it Cornhaven, just say it's Ohio.
Well, yes.
Okay. I don't know why you have to bring that up.
My point is that King Olivier wouldn't abandon a child of pure royal blood. The kingdom requires heirs to continue the royal bloodline. He would have leveraged her in a diplomatic marriage.
That's fair.
That's disgusting.
Accurate, but disgusting.
That's diplomacy. Regardless, even if McCoy was of royal blood, Aster is the king's eldest child. And he's of pure royal blood.
This is also true.
McCoy would have no claim to the throne under these circumstances.
Right. I see what you mean. I suppose that eliminates Aster for now. We should consider the other suspects first. So who would that leave? Well, I can't imagine Frigg is really in any position to worry about.
Mm-mm.
Nor is Steelwind secure as they are. Well, when you eliminate the impossible...
The remaining, no matter how improbable...
What if the Eye-Taker orchestrated this one?
The Eye-Taker? That common criminal? What reason would he have to do this?
I've heard firsthand that he was planning to expand his influence throughout Wyverngarde. He was actually plotting with Beatrice to use House Freyja to do so. Since I ruined his original plans, setting up that massacre might have been his backup plan. Perhaps we're looking at this all wrong. What if Celeste was a part of the royal family and they were planning to use her to take the throne?
Ooh, juicy.
Very.
What if he wanted to do so? Why would he put McCoy in danger by having my daughter attack her?
That's a fair point.
Not only that, he also had the perfect opportunity to murder His Majesty. Imagine if he had placed a more lethal contingent spell in that glyph of contingency. His Majesty might have very well died alongside von Sanctus, Sybil, and Pierce.
I suppose you're right. But we need to consider every possibility. Yada,
Okay.
etc., etc. There. Why did the eye taker uncheck itself?
I don't know. A woman with royal power and a more commoner-friendly demeanor sounds like a decent plan to me. Yeah, me too.
Yes. Shame it doesn't match up with the MO, huh?
It
Well-
wouldn't be House Freyga.
Well, let's just take a shot in the dark then, huh?
I'll hit House Freyga, but
I recall during Beatrice Freyga's trial, we heard William Freyga's last will and testament. It mentioned that House Freyga's assets would be divided evenly between all of his children.
If McCoy were to be revealed as a Freyga, his daughters would be legally obligated to share the estate with him.
or the fact that he's dead by now anyway.
Oh, yes.
Could I seriously be a Freyga?
I don't want to suspect Lifa or Miriam, but we need to consider every possibility. And as we've seen, the Freygas are no strangers to making deals with demons. But it still doesn't quite fit. I doubt Lifa or Miriam would do something like this.
What are you basing that on?
I tend to be a good judge of character. And they just don't seem like the type to do something like this.
Bah! You're far too trusting. I hold no doubt that any of William's children would be capable of something like this.
I suppose we'll have to see.
I'd probably have to pick all 4 options and then the truth will reveal itself.
Perhaps. And yada yada,
Consider.
etc., etc.
And that only
Steelwind.
leaves Steelwind.
As much as I have my doubts, House Steelwind is the only Pillar family whose house leader survived the past month.
You think I'm McCoy's biological father?
That would be hysterical.
Ugh, you're barely a father to your actual daughter.
Oh my god!
Jesus, Celeste, we're in the courtroom. Don't go committing a murder.
Jesus. I'm only stating that possibility for the sake of argument. As I've said, it wouldn't make any sense for you to frame your own daughter when House Steelwind will be blamed. But we need to consider every possibility. But I can't think of anyone else.
Yes, there's a flaw with each suspect. Your logic is clearly flawed.
Well, you don't see him coming up with any ideas.
Well, let's pass the ball to him. There's something here I'm not seeing. I know I'm close. There's a missing piece that ties this all together.
Eris!
Oh my god, quit. Darling,
Hmm.
we know. Trust me, we all know.
Regardless, we still have no idea who this Empress of Discord is. I'm loath to allow such an individual to walk freely through Wyverngarde.
Your Grace, you've been alive since the creation of Wyverngarde and magic. Do you know who this demon is?
I can't say I do. Demons tend to take on many titles over their lifetimes. But whoever this Empress is, they are brave to so blatantly encroach on my domain like this.
I suppose we'll just have to cross that bridge when we get there.
We've obtained a lot of information today, but we clearly have many questions that need to be answered. How should we proceed? What is it, Mr. Cuthbert?
I can't help but feel there's something here I'm not seeing. I just can't put my finger on it.
We have been working at this for quite a while. Perhaps we should suspend proceedings so that we can look into these new leads. I have no objections. I would give my men some time to look into what we've discovered today.
I only hit it once.
Must have been glitch. Then it's settled. We'll be postponing proceedings for now.
Yeah, I definitely only hit the spacebar once.
But you'll all be expected to return here by tomorrow morning. You're all free to return to your homes for the time being. But make no mistake, The Kingsguard will be keeping careful watch over all of you.
So keep your yap shut. There's still this constant nagging sensation in the back of your mind.
Hey, Tyrion?
It's as if you've forgotten something extremely important.
Tyrion?
What is it? What could be so important it's so difficult to remember? Tyrion!
Ah! Sorry. I was just thinking about everything.
You're looking really stressed out. Do you want to head back to your house to rest?
No. We only have a day until the trial resumes. If we can't figure out what happened after tomorrow, magical traces will dissipate.
But you already know what happened. You just don't know who did it.
Yeah. But we should speak with the suspect again. Maybe if I get lucky, I'll see something for the Eye of Horus.
But one of the suspects is the Eye Taker. What are you going to do about him?
I suppose I'll have to speak with him too. That might be difficult.
What? No! What if he tries to kill you again?
Aria's life is on the line. That's just a risk I'll have to take.
Tyrion, do you even understand what you've been pulled into?
What?
Someone just murdered a bunch of nobles, and they even attacked members of the royal family. Now there are ancient dragons and demon lords involved too. Isn't this above your pay grade?
Ouch.
You know that's not what I meant. It's just this whole thing is crazy, isn't it?
It's fine. It's just like any other. It's just like any other of our investigations.
It's not, though.
Are you trying to say the rest of our investigations weren't crazy?
What if the Empress of Discord attacks you? What if the patron decides that you're getting too close to the truth? What if I can't?
Her voice begins to break.
Celeste? Are you still worried about what happened during the massacre? I'm fine. I already told you that you didn't do anything wrong.
You almost died, Tyrion.
I know.
Tyrion! You almost died!
I know, Celeste.
No, Tyrion, I don't think you do. Do you have any idea how worried I was when she broke past me? When I saw you all lying on the floor? So many things were going through my mind. I don't know what I would have done if you were...
She can't even complete that sentence.
Celeste.
You were so focused on everything else that you've been ignoring her. She was attacked by Aria and almost died. You never even thought about how traumatic that must have been for her.
I'm sorry, I didn't think...
Don't apologize. Just please. Please just leave this to Lucio and the Scaled Lord. You've done enough already. They can figure the rest of it out.
What if it's not enough? I'm not so arrogant that I think they can't do it without me. What if they can't figure out who the patron is? Aria will spend the rest of her life in prison. What if I could have done something to prevent that?
I don't care if that happens.
Liar.
Celeste!
I don't care, Tyrion! I'll apologize to her all you want after this. But all I want is to keep you safe. And I don't know if I'm able to do that anymore.
Even she seems surprised by what she said.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to...
I'm really happy you're a part of my life.
What?
I know what you're saying is coming from a place of care. And I'm really sorry about how much I've been worrying you lately, but...
You're not going to stop, are you?
It's like I've always said.
Man, king, or god, nothing will stop you from getting justice for your clients. I'm going to talk to Lucio.
What?
If we're going to meet the Eye Taker again, we're bringing some knights with us.
Celeste, that's hardly...
Nope, you don't get a say in this.
Okay.
And if you're not here when I get back, I will find you.
Judging from her expression, it's not an empty threat.
Fine. Just go.
She might have a point, though. Before everything happened, you weren't even sure if you wanted to continue being an attorney. Maybe you should consider a safer, quieter life after this is all done.
Oh yeah, no, she's got the right idea with calling for backup.
Perhaps a life with her.
Chip.
Aw. The cute music faded out. Wait, what?
Alright, Lucio's cleared it. It was surprisingly easy to convince him. Are you okay?
I'm fine. Let's not waste any more time.
Before she has a chance to respond, you hastily walk past her.
Hey, don't walk so far ahead.
You need to stay focused on the trial, for Aria's sake. But when this is all over, you'll... Well, you suppose you don't have to think about that until then. Tyrion.
Oh, boy.
You chutch. Alright.
You see, this is why we can't have nice things.
Okay.
Oy. Okay. Well, I officially need to give my entire larynx a break.
That is going to be a pretty good place to call it for this week. So I think maybe next week will be the finale?
Nope.
Nope.
Nope. We got an investigation and another court scene.
Okay.
And that court scene's gonna be a long one.
Okay.
Might be worth splitting into two, I don't really know.
Okay. So, finale will probably be week after next.
Indeed.
But before any of that, tomorrow afternoon, I think.
Wouldn't it be more doable to do Sunday? Tomorrow's gonna be busy.
Is it?
A little bit.
Okay, well, tell me after, why it's gonna be busy. So, Sunday, probably afternoon? I'll hammer out a final time and post in the relevant areas. But later this weekend, we will be on Twitch playing Strange Horticulture, which is another visual novel puzzle-y type game, where you run a spooky flower shop in Victorian England and maybe fight a cult.
Ever so slightly fallen London vibes. Except London hasn't fallen.
It's
just slightly spooky.
It's a really interesting story with a lot of fun stuff in it. So if you are at all interested in a little spooky stream, we'll be over on Twitch later this weekend. Alright, and I think that covers whatever housekeeping needed to be done.
Indeed.
Give the bats some time, yeah. And otherwise, we will see you next week. So until then, thanks to everybody who watched. Like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube things. And until then, what does this button do?
No, wait, that's the spooky button!